In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to grow a Section 8 portfolio from nothing without all of the fluff and fake promises that other gurus tell you. Hello everybody, I'm Khateri, realtor in the state of Virginia and Section 8 investor. I've helped people go from 0 properties all the way to owning double-digit rentals, and today I'm walking through the exact steps that you need to take to personally scale. There's no fancy tricks, no made-up stories, just a strategy that is reliable and works. Let's get into it. Step 1, keep your job. I know that sounds really weird for me to tell you on an investing video, but first off, don't quit your W-2 job. Seriously, just don't do it. Not yet. I know social media makes it seem like everyone's quitting their job and going all in to real estate investing, but I'm telling you right now, if you quit too early, you will regret it. And here is exactly why. So a W-2 income helps you qualify for loans. Lenders love seeing reliable income. It provides a stable cash flow while you're still building your portfolio out. And most people need time to save up. Real estate isn't free. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you can go in 5K down, 0% down. That's not realistic in today's market. I've made many videos about this, but whenever someone mentions, seller financing, owner financing, they are talking about an outdated strategy. I myself recommended seller financing 3 years ago. I haven't recommended it since because it doesn't work in today's market. So what you want to do instead is, step 1 is start building a 6-month emergency fund. I know this sounds very, very boring, but I'm telling you, this is a reliable strategy that works. So stick around to hear the entire thing. So 6-month emergency fund. If your monthly expenses are $3K, then you have to save up $18,000 and never touch it. That's your safety net. It is going to go into a separate savings account, hopefully a high yield savings account. I'll put a link to a good SoFi account in the description. Gonna collect just 4% in the background. Forget about it. Now, after you have this 6-month emergency fund, now you can actually get started with the fun stuff, which is investing. So every dollar afterwards goes towards your investment fund, and that's the money that you'll use to buy your first Section 8 property. Step 2, what each property will actually cost you. So here is the part that most gurus skip. Each Section 8 house that you buy, you'll need around $25,000 to $30,000. Why, you may ask? Oh my God, I was told by so-and-so I only needed 5K. No, they are lying to you, or just using grossly outdated information. So I like to go the reliable route using loans, because once again, I'm not a betting man. Loans will be around forever. So there are 2 types of loans. You can go conventional, which will check your pay stubs, your tax returns, your W-2 job. You'll need a good credit score, at least 700 typically. And you also can't typically close under an LLC. It usually has to be in your personal name if you're making a new LLC. But I'm getting off topic. These loans, conventional or DSCR, which doesn't check your income, they both will need 20% down. And it's actually more if you're a non-citizen of the US. So if you're, from Canada, for example, you'll maybe have to put down 35%. But I'm assuming you guys are US citizens. I have another video about foreign investors coming out soon, but 20% down. There will be closing costs. Conventional will vary, but with my DSCR lender that's helping out my students in my mentorship program, we're charging around 7K for closing costs on average. And then you have to do some light rehab to pass the HUD inspection. I mean, the HUD inspection is extremely strict. So you're going to need to, fix all of the GFCI outlets that are near a water source. You'll need to fill in the spiderweb cracks in pavement, stuff that typically you won't even notice that needs to be fixed in a rental, but you'll need to do it in these. So you need to put aside a little bit for that, because even truly turnkey homes are never actually turnkey. They are close to turnkey, cosmetically turnkey, but something like the outlets might come up that need to be replaced, and that could be at least a few $100. That's just how it is. Now, can you find ways to cut down this cost? Sure, but if you go in expecting to spend $0, you're going to end up both broke and stressed, or not even able to take a first step. So plan for 25 to 30K per house, period, and that's assuming you're going in at around 100K purchase price. One solid deal at a time is all you need starting out. You guys don't need to be 18 years old with $500 in your pocket and buy 5 houses the first month. No, you're not being realistic. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. This is an actual investment strategy. And just so I can make a clearer picture on the numbers, let me go through a live example for you. So we'll go ahead and take a look at, let's just say, Detroit. Here is a perfect one that Zillow just recommended me just right off the bat that really worked out here. $95,000, 3-bed, a little over 1,000 square feet. Now the interior looks turnkey. I mean, if I was just looking at this as a new investor, I would go, oh my God, with this being empty, this would be perfect. But it's never truly perfect. For example, right here, we can see the backyard. There seems to be some type of shed here. So if that is in poor condition, it either needs to be repaired or demolished. And demolishing a shed isn't cheap. I mean, that could cost up to $5K. But going back to the listing itself, so $95,000 times 20%, that is $19,000 for the down payment. Closing costs, like I mentioned, are hovering around $7,000-ish. That brings you to $26,000 right there. And then we do think this is turnkey, but you should still put in a little bit of reserve. So let's just say $3K in reserves. That puts you to $29,000. You won't find any other strategy where a $29K investment could get you an entire house. That is insane. And just knowing this rough area, this could probably rent for, $1,300, maybe $1,400 according to HUD. Part 3, financing options. So let's assume that at this point you went conventional, you got the best interest rate possible, everything went into your personal name, then you transferred to an LLC. Once you have a couple houses, you're going to hit a wall, which is lenders stop approving you because you've got too many mortgages under your name conventionally. So this is where DSCR loans come in. And again, you can use DSCR right off the bat if it fits your needs better. For example, you want to use an LLC from day one, or you don't want people checking your income. Then yeah, use DSCR from the beginning. You can use my lender if you're a student. But regardless, this is where DSCR loans start coming in, because DSCR stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio Loans. It's a tongue twister. And these loans qualify you based on how much income the property will make, not your personal income. So if the rent is high enough, you're good to go. That's how investors keep scaling. So for example, if the lender analyzes this deal at Roxbury Street and says, okay, your PIMI, so your mortgage payment, taxes, and insurance will be $600 for this house. But in return, we estimate that it could rent for, right here. Even Zillow estimates $1,300. Then the DSCR lender would approve this home. They typically approve it as long as it's a 1.2% ratio, or 1.2 times ratio. Meaning, if the mortgage, taxes, and insurance is $600 a month, then as long as the property is making $720 or above, they typically will approve it. So that way, you can pretty much buy an infinite number of homes as long as you have the cash for it, 20% down if you're a citizen, your credit score is good enough, at least 680 for DSCR, and you simply have the cash. You can buy them in an LLC. You don't have to submit personal tax returns. You don't have to submit any type of pay stubs. It is extremely, extremely essential for scaling. The downside is that the interest rate is about 1% higher than conventional. And that is the main reason why I always suggest conventional first if it's available. And at this point, you should be keeping 5 properties per LLC. It helps with reducing risk, taxes, and clean bookkeeping. Now, why don't I recommend every house have its own LLC? Well, the reason is simply because there's too many fees involved. Every single LLC will need its own tax return typically, and your accountant's going to charge every single time. And they could charge up to a whole month of profit. I know some accountants charge $450 per year, and if your property is only making $400 net per month, then that's over a month of returns. So I like to do 5 per LLC, given the home's around 100K, meaning you have about 500K equity in each LLC. And most insurance policies cover roughly that. Granted, I'm not a CPA. You should probably talk to one before following any of this advice. If you are interested in Section 8 investing and don't know where to start, go ahead and click the first link in the description. I offer one-on-one mentorship in order to invest in Section 8 homes from beginning to end, the whole LLC formation all the way until the tenant is placed and managed. I help the entire process. So if you are interested in learning the ins and outs of Section 8 investing, go ahead, click the first link, book a free strategy call with my team to see if it's a good fit for you. And if you want to get some more information on Section 8 housing as well as network, go ahead and click the second link in the description, because I created a school program that has a lot of good, useful modules and information, and a chat function where you can talk to other investors. Plus, I do monthly group calls on school. So you can treat it as a live Q&A session where you can ask me anything. All right, part 4, which is the rental process. The process is step 1, use a realtor who understands HUD guidelines. Yes, I can refer you to a realtor if you're a student of mine. By the way, this realtor will have pretty much any connection you'll ever need. They're going to have off-market homes sometimes. They are going to just understand the general HUD guidelines while you're touring homes. They're going to have every contractor known to man in their books. You could ask them for plumbers, electricians, builders, and they're going to have it all. And they're also going to have a good property manager they can recommend. I know a lot of you are always worried about that. No need to worry because they got you covered. Second step in the process is look for homes that will work with the 1.5 or 2% rule. Typically 1.5% if you're going for no rehab. This just means that you estimate it could rent for 1.5% of the purchase price. So a 100K home, you estimate it could rent for $1,500. Step 3 is making an offer. So once accepted, you can start the repairs right away. Step 4 is rehabbing just enough to pass the HUD inspection. We don't want to go overboard and give them a chandelier. We want to actually strip away anything that's unnecessary, such as screen doors or ceiling fans, and only keep what's necessary to pass the HUD inspection. But whatever you do keep around, make sure it's up the utmost quality. For example, we don't want just a crappy fridge in there that you found at a garage sale. You want a nice stainless steel fridge that's gonna last 10 years. Same with the microwave, same with the stove. If there's any type of carpet that is probably worn out or out of date on the ground, just tear it up and put in LVP. It's waterproof and it's gonna last 20 years. So remove what is unnecessary, but make whatever is remaining high quality. And to pass this inspection, of course, you can have your inspector go out that the realtor can recommend, or you yourself can go out with the HUD checklist in hand. Number 5 is submitting your paperwork to the housing authority. Make sure to call them beforehand, before you even start this process, to see what their processing times are like. That'll potentially save you a ton of trouble. Number 6 is wait for the inspection and tenant approval. Hopefully at this point, you're all good with the inspection because of the rehab you did. If not, they're going to give you a limited amount of time to fix things, or you have to go through the entire process again. And number 7, which is once approved, you are now collecting rent from the government. Congratulations. At this point, you can either self-manage it yourself using some type of software online. For example, I'm sure if you just Google property management software, you're going to get hit with a ton of results. I know Tenant Cloud is popular. I've never used it myself. I think they're $16 a month. There's also, I've used Rent Spree in the past. I don't know if they're management or if they're more for just screening, but I have used these guys before. They're decent. Or you can hire a property manager. They'll typically collect 8 to 12% of the monthly rent. And part 5, rinse and repeat and never touch the money. I know that sounds crazy, right? What's the point in buying these houses if you can't splurge a little and buy yourself a nice Lamborghini? But here's what separates people who stop at 3 homes and people who stop at 30 homes. You can't touch the rental income. Set up a separate business bank account for each property or for the LLC. Rent goes in and stays there. You should only ever touch the money for 3 reasons. Number 1 is repairs. You know, handyman goes out, fixes the doorknob. Then yeah, sure, pay them through the LLC bank accounts and then keep the invoice. Number 2 is you want to save up for big emergencies, because you never know when they're gonna hit. One bad storm could ruin an entire roof, and if your insurance won't cover it, that's 10 grand right there. And number 3, if you end up collecting a decent amount of money in this bank account that is not going to be used for the foreseeable future, well then guess what? You use it for the next down payment. And this is how the snowball starts. After 3 to 5 properties, your cash flow grows. Then one day you realize you've got enough money to buy another home without waiting 6 months or a year. And by the time you hit 10 homes, you can keep buying them one after another with no break. Once you're past 20 homes, you'll be looking at portfolios. And that's the system. That's how you scale. For example, I'm sure that we could just go on a rough Google search and, this is just me 5 seconds into Google. But yeah, you can even just find these portfolios that are super, super profitable. And they let you scale really quickly as long as you have the cash for them. So for example, this one's 1.25 million, but it has 14 homes. This one's 1 million with 7 homes. This one's 350K with 5 homes, all occupied. You get the point. So to recap, keep your W-2 job or whatever job you're working. Save a real emergency fund. Never touch it unless it's for an emergency. Plan to spend about 25 to 30K per house. Use DSCR loans and LLCs to scale. Rent to HUD tenants and manage the property correctly. And then never touch your cash flow. It's slow, it's boring, it works. This is a system I use as well as the one all of my students use. It is a system I teach. And if you want help doing this step by step, go ahead, click the first link in the description, book a free strategy call with my team to potentially join my one-on-one mentorship, or click the second link in order to join a free community of fellow investors. And don't forget, like, subscribe, let's build wealth the smart way. And as always, I'm Joseph Khateri. Have a nice day.